You know, whenever Hollywood gets its hands on a true story, you always have to wonder, where does the real history stop and the storytelling magic begin? Today, we're going to dive right into that with the Elvis biopic and explore this really fascinating line between what literally happened and what filmmakers like to call emotional truth.
So to really get to the bottom of this, we're going to start with the people who know the story inside and out. There's this one comment from a longtime Elvis fan that just perfectly sums up the whole debate. You can just feel the frustration in that, right? This fan is pointing to these really specific things that just felt wrong. The way Elvis's parents were shown and, yeah, chickens wandering around Graceland. And look, this isn't just nitpicking. These examples point to a much bigger question about how a real person's life gets translated to the big screen.
And this really is the core of it all. When we're watching a biopic, what are we actually seeing? Is it supposed to be a historical document? Or is it a director's interpretation, a story that's crafted to make us feel something, even if it means bending the facts a little?
Okay, so to figure this out, we're going to break down 3 of the most talked about creative choices in the movie, starting with the 2 people who are closest to Elvis. First up, Elvis's dad, Vernon Presley. In the movie, he kind of comes off as simple, maybe a little clueless. But what was he really like? The difference here is it's huge. The movie gives you this version of Vernon who just can't handle the business side of things. But the reality was way more complex. He was a cautious guy, incredibly protective of his son, but yeah, he was also completely out of his depth with all that superstardom. He wasn't dumb, he was just overwhelmed.
So why make that change? Well, think about it. In a movie that's only 2.5 hours long, showing a weak father figure is basically a narrative shortcut. It's a quick way to show the audience, hey, Elvis was on his own. It makes you feel the immense weight he was carrying, making these gigantic, life-changing decisions all by himself.
All right, next up, let's talk about his mother, Gladys. For a lot of fans, her portrayal was a very, very sensitive part of the film.
The movie really leans hard into the idea that Gladys was an alcoholic. And while, yeah, she did struggle, the real story is so much more layered. She was dealing with some really profound depression, the unbelievable anxiety of her son's fame, and her health was failing. Her pain was, well, it was complicated. You can't just slap a single label on it.
And this is where you can kind of see the filmmaker's challenge. How in the world do you show all that deep, multifaceted suffering in just a handful of scenes? You simplify it. Calling her an alcoholic, while maybe not entirely fair, is a dramatic shorthand to make her tragedy instantly understandable for an audience.
All right, and now for the one that had everybody talking, the chickens. I mean, really, did chickens actually have the run of Graceland?
Okay, let's just get this out of the way. This is pure fiction. It never happened. There were no chickens roaming the halls of Graceland. But, and I absolutely love this detail, Elvis did once bring a horse inside the house. So that spirit of playful, rule-breaking chaos, oh, that was 100% real. So you see, the chickens aren't supposed to be literal. They're a metaphor. They're this powerful visual symbol that basically screams, this guy lived by his own set of rules. His home wasn't just a house. It was his kingdom, it was a playground, it was a stage where the normal lines between life and spectacle just completely vanished.
So you have the father, the mother, and the chickens. All 3 of these examples point to this one single, really powerful idea in filmmaking that explains exactly why these choices get made.
This, right here, is the key to the whole thing. It's called emotional truth. And the idea is that it's more important for the audience to feel the truth of a situation than to see a literal, factual reenactment. So the chickens never happened, but they make you feel the chaotic, whimsical world of Elvis, and that's the goal.
Okay, so now that we know about this whole emotional truth thing, how does that change the way we watch movies like this? Well, it gives us a brand new lens, a whole new set of questions to ask. Instead of just accepting everything on screen as fact, we can become more active viewers. The next time you see a scene that feels a little too perfect, or maybe a little too weird, just pause and ask yourself, okay, is this meant to be literal fact, or is this a symbol for something bigger?
And here's the follow-up question. Does this symbolic choice actually help you understand the core of who that person was, or does it oversimplify them so much that it actually distorts the reality? That's the really fine line that every one of these films has to walk.
And all of this really brings us right back to where we started, with the fans who know the real story and the real man behind the whole legend.
And this is where it all kind of comes together. That fan from our first slide, totally right to point out the things that weren't true. But for someone brand new to Elvis's story, maybe those movie myths are the very thing that sparks their curiosity. They see the chickens, they Google it, and boom, suddenly they've opened a door to the real and frankly even more fascinating history, a history that the fan community is more than ready to share.
And let's just be honest with ourselves. The real life of Elvis Presley, with its unbelievable highs and its tragic lows, was already way more compelling than any Hollywood fiction could ever be.
And that's the ultimate takeaway here. While Hollywood is busy searching for emotional truth with symbols and shortcuts, the incredible thing about Elvis is that the actual, factual truth of his life was already larger than life, more spectacular than anything a movie could ever invent.